Lawyers for former President Trump have asked for narrower limits on a proposed protective order in special counsel Jack Smith's criminal probe into efforts to overturn the 2020 election. This after prosecutors sought to limit Trump from publicly disclosing certain evidence after he posted online Friday that, quote, "If you go after me, I'm coming after you." With more on the latest developments in this case, I'm joined by attorney Jason Harrow. We're usually joined by you via Zoom. You're in the flesh tonight. Nice to have you in studio.
Great to be in studio.
Okay, a lot to talk about. Let's start with that protective order. So prosecutors don't want Trump to be able to talk about this latest indictment on the campaign trail. And his team says this is all about free speech. I should be able to. Where does that stand now?
Yeah, so they're in a fight. They've filed competing legal briefs, and the prosecutors say that given the president's substantial social media following, his propensity to speak about things off the cuff, that it's really important for the safety of witnesses, for the integrity of the criminal case, for the president not to be able to do that at a whim. And his lawyers came back just this afternoon and said, no, this is a First Amendment case. Whatever evidence you give me, I can immediately talk about or discuss to sort of show the public what's going on. So the judge will have probably a few days to consider the motions, and then she'll make a ruling and decide how protected, how confidential this information will be.
Okay, sticking with this same indictment, Trump's team, Trump himself, really wants the judge to recuse herself in D.C. because she is an Obama appointee, and he wants the trial also moved, right, to West Virginia, where it's more politically friendly. He, on Truth Social, said this: "There's no way I can get a fair trial with the judge assigned to the ridiculous freedom of speech, fair elections case. Everybody knows this, and so does she. We will be immediately asking for recusal of this judge on very powerful grounds, and likewise for venue change out of D.C." Do you think that this is going to happen? Is this an uphill battle?
It's an uphill battle, Marla. So the two issues are both really hard for the president to win because the standard is high. The standard for judicial recusal is whether a reasonable person would question the judge's impartiality. And it's pretty well established that in the federal system, there's only a few presidents that appoint all of these judges. And if you couldn't rule on a case involving a political person of another party, then the system would collapse. So that's not grounds for recusal. And then in terms of moving venue, it's all going to depend on what the jury pool looks like, and we just don't know that yet. So judges in these kinds of cases, they've all said, we're going to put this off until way further down the road when we see what the jury will actually look like.
Why is it all dependent on the jury pool?
Because that's the organization that will decide Trump's fate, whether he's guilty or not. And so the question is, what jurors will be picked, and can they be partial? The judge right now, it doesn't matter if the judge is working from home. It doesn't matter if the judge is in Hawaii, D.C., or anywhere in between. It's the same judge.
And by the way, the Mar-a-Lago classified documents case, that judge is a Trump appointee. So, of course, Trump and Republicans don't mind that at all, right?
They seem not to mind.
Right. Okay, so let's get a question in about Hunter Biden, of course. So last week we heard, at least transcripts were released from one of Hunter Biden's former business associates, Devin Archer, about the dealings with President Biden, had taken part in calls as VP with especially in light of the failed plea deal and him on the call, or being named in the call, pardon me about this. Do we expect any legal jeopardy for the president or Hunter Biden as it relates to that?
It's really early to see that as this investigation continues. We do know that presidents, while in office, there's a legal opinion from the 1970s saying they're immune from criminal prosecution. So to the extent that there is anything against President Biden, I don't think there will be, but to the extent that there is, it would have to come after he's in office. Meanwhile, the Hunter Biden case moves along, sort of, we don't know a lot about what's going on in the negotiations.
Because basically what we learned from Devin Archer last week in that interview was just that Hunter Biden would name the president sort of as my father, and not much came of that.
Correct. There doesn't appear to be much that could come of it, but even if there would be, there just can't be legally right now until the president's out of office.
Okay, very good. Well, it's nice to have you in person, Jason Harrow,
great to be here.